dementia and human neuroplasticity that has the power to reshape your brain circuitry, preserve memory, protect neurons, and potentially stop the progression of dementia. And here's the kicker: it doesn't take hours, equipment, or even leaving your house. It takes commitment and about 12 minutes a day. We're talking about focused, deliberate recall, a structured memory retrieval practice that pushes your hippocampus and prefrontal cortex into a state of adaptive stress, not passive remembering. I'm talking about an intentional, high-friction mental workout. You sit down, no distractions, and you force your brain to retrieve specific details: what you did yesterday, who you talked to, the order of events, what you ate for breakfast 3 days ago, what color shirt your friend wore. The goal: strain the neural pathways that encode and retrieve memory. Why does this matter? Because the brain is a it, use or lose it organ. Synaptic pruning, especially as we age, doesn't discriminate. If you don't signal to your brain that certain memory pathways are vital, it deprioritizes them. But when you engage in daily focused recall, you're telling your brain these pathways matter. Neurotrophic factors like BDNF start to increase. Myelination strengthens. Neuroinflammation reduces. Your brain begins to adapt in real time. Studies from top neuroscience labs show that even minimal but consistent daily retrieval strengthens the exact regions targeted by Alzheimer's AL, the hippocampus, entorhinal cortex, and prefrontal networks. The beauty: this isn't just defense, it's offense. You're not just slowing decline, you're building cognitive reserve, a buffer against neurodegeneration. People with higher reserve can lose more brain tissue but function normally. That reserve is built through exercises like this. So yes, diet matters. Sleep, exercise, glucose regulation, they all matter. But if you're not training your memory, you're leaving one of your most potent tools untouched. You can start now, no equipment, no waiting, just you, your mind, and the discipline to ask, what happened yesterday? And keep digging until the answers come. You want to reverse memory loss? You want to stop dementia? Then every day you must act like your memory is a muscle. Train it, stress it, make it stronger, because what you do today is the architecture of what you'll remember tomorrow. Imagine your brain as a muscle. You wouldn't expect to build strength, speed, or endurance if you only worked out once a week or skipped the gym entirely, right? The brain is no different. Just as physical training enhances muscle fibers, mental exercise strengthens the neural circuits responsible for memory. The key here is deliberate and focused mental effort. You have to engage in memory retrieval in a way that creates friction. This means pulling information from your brain with intention and persistence. The more you stress those memory circuits, the more adaptive they become. Think about it. When you're trying to remember what you had for dinner last Tuesday or the exact sequence of events from yesterday, you're engaging the hippocampus, the brain's command center for memory. But here's the thing: your hippocampus is not a passive sponge soaking up random bits of information. It's a dynamic, living system that thrives on challenge. If you give it the easy stuff, the low-hanging fruit, it gets lazy. But when you force it to retrieve specific, detailed information, sometimes information you don't think you'll remember, it has no choice but to fire up, dig deep, and activate neural pathways. This is how you exercise your brain. As you continue with this daily practice, your hippocampus and connected regions adapt. They don't just sit there stagnant. They respond and grow. Stanford, they grow stronger, they refine themselves. Over time, this stress promotes neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form and reorganize synaptic connections in response to learning and experience. In short, when you challenge your brain to recall information with effort, it responds by becoming more efficient at doing so, rewiring itself to store and access memories more effectively. This is the essence of brain training, and it's not just theory. It's the real, hard science of how we can actively preserve and even enhance our memory systems. You don't need hours of intense brain training to see results. In fact, just 12 minutes a day. Yes, only 12 minutes of structured, focused memory recall can have a profound effect. This is the beauty of neuroplasticity. The brain doesn't require endless time to adapt. It's about the quality and intensity of the effort you put in. Those 12 minutes don't need to be spent in a meditative, quiet room either. You can do this exercise anywhere at any time, provided you're focused and undistracted. The key to this short duration is that it taps into what's called time-limited cognitive stress. Your brain thrives when it's given a challenge, but not overburdened. In that short window, and reads at Stanford, you're pushing your hippocampus and other memory-related regions to engage fully without overwhelming them. Studies show that intense bursts of focus for brief periods, when coupled with consistent effort, can lead to real changes in brain function and structure. And the beauty is, at Stanford, you don't need an extensive time commitment. It's about harnessing the power of short, deliberate moments throughout your day that add up. In fact, this time-efficient method aligns with what we know about brain function, quality over quantity. Research has shown that deep, focused practice for a limited period is often far more effective than prolonged, unfocused sessions. Just like in physical training, you don't need to be at the gym for hours to see progress. You need to train smart. And when you train your brain for just 12 minutes, the results can be remarkable in terms of how quickly it adapts to the challenge you're giving it. So don't wait for an hour to open up. Just start with a short, intense burst. It's the consistent, focused effort that pays off. When you engage in focused memory recall, you're not just passively reviewing old memories. You're stimulating some of the most crucial areas of your brain, the hippocampus and the prefrontal cortex. These regions are the command centers for memory formation, organization, and retrieval. The hippocampus in particular is responsible for converting short-term memories into long-term ones, and the prefrontal cortex is key for higher-level thinking, decision-making, and memory recall. These two regions are most vulnerable to damage from neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia, making them a primary focus of the braining we're talking about. When you actively engage them by forcing your brain to recall specific, detailed information, whether it's where you left your car keys or the sequence of events in a conversation you had yesterday, you're putting these regions under just the right kind of stress, not overwhelming stress, but the kind that forces them to adapt and strengthen. Over time, as these regions become more active through regular use, they build greater connectivity, which improves their function and resilience. This is how you create what's called cognitive reserve, a robust network of neural connections that can withstand the effects of aging and disease. The beauty of this exercise is that it's not just about remembering things better. It's about creating lasting changes in your brain's structure. When the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex are repeatedly activated in this way, they start to rewire and reinforce themselves. They become more efficient, more capable of handling the demands you place on them. And as you continue this practice, you're essentially boosting your brain's ability to adapt to stress and fight against the very processes that lead to memory loss and cognitive decline. It's a form of self-protection that happens at a deep biological level. The more you challenge these areas, the more they evolve, and the more resilient your brain becomes in the face of aging and potential neurodegeneration. When it comes to memory retrieval, there's a crucial principle you need to understand. It's not about the ease of remembering. It's about the challenge. Think about it this way when you reach for a memory, especially one that doesn't come to you immediately. Your brain is in a state of tension. It's almost like a muscle under strain. That strain is essential for growth. The more friction there is in the process, the more your brain has to work and the more it adapts. This is where true cognitive enhancement happens. Not in the easy automatic recall, but in the active, sometimes frustrating attempt to retrieve specific details. This kind of mental exercise forces your brain to go beyond its comfort zone. You're engaging your hippocampus, dig deeper into stored information. And when that information doesn't come easily, the brain has to find alternative routes to access it. This is why challenging memory retrieval is so powerful. It helps establish new neural connections, strengthens existing ones, and improves the overall efficiency of memory networks. The more you push yourself to remember the specifics, whether it's the exact conversation you had yesterday or the color of someone's shoes a week ago, the more you build the resilience of the neural circuits involved. This process of straining your brain to reach for memories may sound simple, but it's a core component of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself and strengthen neural pathways in response to effort. The harder your brain has to work to access a memory, the stronger those pathways become, and over time, your brain learns to retrieve memories with greater efficiency. It's a bit like lifting weights. The heavier the load, the stronger your muscles become. Similarly, the more you force your brain to retrieve difficult memories, the stronger and more adaptable it becomes. This isn't just about memory. It's about making your brain more agile, more resilient, And that's crucial when it comes to staving off the cognitive decline that often accompanies aging or disease. In essence, every time you push your brain to recall something specific, you're not just testing your memory. You're reinforcing the very structures that make memory possible in the first place. The brain operates on a fundamental principle like use it or lose it. If you don't engage certain neural pathways regularly, your brain will prioritize other more frequently used circuits. This is true for all functions of the brain, but it's especially critical when it comes to memory networks. Just like muscles, need constant stimulation to remain strong and functional. If you stop exercising them, they begin to weaken. You can't afford to let your brain go idle. If you're not actively challenging and retrieving memories, your brain will slowly start prune those pathways at Stanford, deeming them less important. Think about the difference between a muscle that's been exercised regularly and one that hasn't been used in a long time. The inactive muscle fibers weaken and shrink, and the same thing happens in your brain. Neurons that aren't being activated lose their connections and become less efficient. This process is known as synaptic pruning, and while it's essential for learning and growth, it can be detrimental when it's applied to memory networks that are no longer being used. The brain doesn't care about preserving unused connections. It gets rid of them, creating more space for active, relevant ones. But the good news is the opposite is true as well. The more you engage your brain, the more it strengthens and builds its networks. By actively working on memory recall every day, you're signaling to your brain that these pathways matter. You're telling it. These memory circuits need to stay strong. When you make an effort to remember specific events or details, you're biting back against the natural process of synaptic pruning and reinforcing the circuits that are critical for long-term memory retention. At Stanford, this is why regular memory exercises aren't just important for maintaining cognitive function. They're essential for building resilience in your brain. You're not just staving off memory loss. You're actively enhancing the brain's ability to adapt and thrive. By continually exercising your memory, you're creating a buffer against the effects of aging or neurodegenerative diseases. You're reinforcing the pathways that make your memory more robust, making sure that when you need it most, your brain is sharp, connected, and ready to retrieve the information you've stored. When we talk about brain health, one of the most crucial factors is a molecule called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. BDNF is like the fertilizer for your brain. It supports the growth, survival, and maintenance of neurons. It plays a vital role in neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability to rewire itself, adapt, and strengthen. The more BDNF you have in your system, the more resilient your brain becomes to aging, stress, and cognitive decline. But here's the thing, BDNF isn't just something you passively get. It's a response to effort, specifically mental and physical effort, when you engage in memory retrieval exercises, especially those that push your brain to recall specific details. It signals to your brain that these memory pathways are essential. This kind of mental effort has been shown to trigger the release of BDNF. It's not just about thinking hard or struggling to remember, but about creating an environment where your brain knows it needs to strengthen its circuits in response to demand. Essentially, by challenging your memory, you are telling your brain, this matters, this is important, I need more resources. BDNF goes to work, stimulating the growth of new neurons and enhancing the connections between existing ones. This process doesn't just happen in the areas of your brain responsible for memory. It spreads, fostering overall brain health and cognitive function. When BDNF is active, it strengthens synapses, the tiny gaps where neurons communicate with one another, and helps protect neurons from damage or degeneration. So every time you sit down and intentionally work to retrieve memories, you are fueling your brain's ability to adapt and repair itself. This is why, if you want to fight against memory loss or reduce your risk of neurodegenerative diseases, increasing BDNF levels is one of the most effective strategies. The more you engage in focused, deliberate brain exercises, the more you boost BNF, which in turn strengthens the very neural circuits you're trying to protect. It's a cycle of growth and repair, a way to continually build your brain's resilience. And unlike many other processes in the body, this one can be controlled, shaped, and maximized by your daily actions like challenging your memory. So every time you make that conscious effort to recall something, you're not just exercising your brain. You're actively promoting the creation of the very factors that keep your mind sharp, strong, and adaptable. One of the most fascinating concepts in neuroscience is the idea of cognitive reserve. This refers to the brain's ability to adapt to damage and maintain functionality despite the loss of neurons or the effects of aging. Think of it as a mental buffer, a protective layer that allows the brain to keep functioning at a high level even when some of its circuits are compromised. People with a higher cognitive reserve are able to lose more brain tissue without showing the signs of cognitive decline. So, how do you build this reserve? Through consistent mental exercise. When you regularly engage in challenging brain activities, like the focused memory recall we're talking about, you're building cognitive reserve. It's a bit like putting money in a savings account. Each time you actively retrieve memories or push yourself to remember details, you're depositing small but crucial amounts into your cognitive bank. The more you do this, the more neural connections you create, and the stronger your brain becomes. These neural connections act like a network ways to help you maintain cognitive function, even if some parts of your brain begin to deteriorate with age or disease. The key here is that cognitive reserve isn't something that naturally accumulates as you age. It's something you have to actively work on. And the great thing is, it's never too late to start building it. Whether you're in your 20s, 50s, or 80s, you have the ability to enhance your cognitive reserve by simply exercising your brain through targeted memory retrieval. The more you challenge your brain, the more efficient it becomes at creating new pathways and reorganizing itself to optimize function. This reserve becomes your brain's defense system against the cognitive decline associated with Alzheimer's, dementia, or even just the natural aging process. Think of cognitive reserve as your brain's safety net. It's the backup system that kicks in when the primary system starts to fail. And while genetics play a role in cognitive resilience, your daily actions, such as consistently working on memory retrieval, are one of the most effective ways to build that reserve. The more you train your brain, the more you're able to maintain high levels of cognitive function throughout your life. So every time you make the effort to retrieve a memory, you're not just strengthening your memory in the present, you're also safeguarding your brain's future. This is why cognitive reserve isn't just important for preventing memory loss. It's about empowering your brain to adapt, maintain, and thrive, no matter what challenges may come its way. The science behind memory retrieval and brain training is not just some theory. It's grounded in solid, peer-reviewed research from some of the most prestigious neuroscience labs around the world. What we know from these studies is clear, regular, focused mental effort can significantly improve brain function and even stave off cognitive decline. Researchers have found that the hippocampus, a region that is crucial for memory consolidation, responds directly to the kinds of exercises we're discussing here. When we challenge our brain to recall specific memories, particularly those that require some effort to retrieve, we stimulate these areas and initiate the process of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself, form new neural connections, and strengthen existing ones. In fact, some of the most compelling research shows that just a few minutes of intense mental focus on recalling past events can improve the brain's ability to encode new memories, and this can extend beyond just memory retention. Studies have also linked these practices to enhanced cognitive flexibility, increased attention span, and even emotional regulation. The brain responds to these exercises like a muscle responds to weight training. It gets stronger, more efficient, and more resilient. The key here is that this isn't speculative. These are measurable, scientifically documented effects that show up in functional MRI scans and cognitive tests. Moreover, research specifically targeting Alzheimer's and dementia has pointed to memory training as a potential tool for slowing or even reversing cognitive decline. By engaging in focused memory retrieval on a regular basis, you're not just protecting your memory, you're enhancing the brain regions most at risk of degeneration. Studies have demonstrated that individuals who engage in activities like this on a consistent basis show higher levels of brain-derived neurotrophic factors, BDNF, a protein that promotes neuron growth and survival. They also exhibit greater cognitive reserve, which means they have a built-in buffer to protect against the cognitive decline that typically accompanies aging or disease. It's not just about theory or hopeful promises. It's about what the research is showing us. Regular, focused mental exercises like memory retrieval aren't just preventive measures. They're powerful, scientifically backed tools that can change the way our brains age. Whether you're looking to protect your memory or enhance your cognitive function, the evidence is clear this kind of brain training works. And it works because you're tapping into the brain's own incredible ability to adapt and grow in response to challenges. Every time you make that effort to recall a specific memory, you're building a stronger, more resilient brain, one that's better equipped to face the challenges of tomorrow. What makes this brain exercise so powerful is its accessibility. You don't need any fancy equipment, no expensive supplements, no high-tech apps. It's just you, your mind, and a few minutes of focused effort. That's the beauty of it. Anyone, anywhere can do this. You don't have to go to a special place, buy a special gadget, or take time out of your busy schedule. It's not about complex, time-consuming routines. It's about simplicity and consistency. You can do it while commuting, waiting in line, or sitting in a quiet moment at home. The only thing you need is a bit of mental focus and the commitment to take just 12 minutes a day to actively work on your memory. This makes it not only effective, but incredibly practical. In our fast-paced world, time is one of our most precious resources. But the beauty of this exercise is that it requires minimal investment in terms of time. It doesn't demand hours of your day. You don't have to find an hour to block off in your calendar or rearrange your routine to fit it in 12 minutes. That's all it takes to trigger your brain's natural neuroplasticity. It's the mental equivalent of doing a short, intense workout. It doesn't need to be long, but it needs to be focused and purposeful. What this means is that you can start this practice today. No waiting for the right time or a perfect setup. All you need to do is commit to a small, simple, but highly effective practice each day. With consistent effort, these 12 minutes will begin to compound and you'll start to see real changes in your cognitive function. There's no need for barriers or excuses. Your brain, like your body, responds to consistent, deliberate action. And the best part is, it's completely within your control. You don't need a gym membership or special tools, just your mind and your focus. That's what makes this exercise so universally accessible. And when something is as simple and powerful as this, it's an opportunity that's too good to miss. Much like physical training, brain training isn't something that yields instant results. You can't expect to see dramatic changes after just one session, and that's okay. The real power of this exercise lies in its consistency. Just like lifting weights or running a marathon, cognitive improvement happens gradually with repeated, focused effort over time. Each 12-minute session is a small deposit into your cognitive bank, and over weeks, months, and even years, those deposits add up to meaningful change. Your brain, like your body, adapts and strengthens with consistent effort. The key is showing up every day. The more consistent you are with your memory retrieval exercises, the more your brain builds those new neural connections, the stronger your cognitive reserve becomes, and the more resilient your brain gets. It's like compound interest. Small, consistent actions lead to exponential growth over time. The more you stick with this habit, the more your brain becomes capable of handling stress, storing new memories, and accessing them when you need them most. It's not about making big leaps. It's about steady, incremental progress that builds momentum. The beautiful part of consistency is that it creates a feedback loop. As you continue to challenge your brain daily, you'll begin to notice small improvements in your ability to recall information, in your overall cognitive sharpness, and in your emotional resilience. These changes may seem subtle at first, but over time, they become more pronounced. Your brain gets more efficient at processing information, at connecting